I have a note that just says open her up like a can of beans. Don't know what that means. Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. I'm Fitz, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Flying Lead. Flying Lead was a LARP I went to early March this year, and is the last LARP I have been to since then, for reasons we shall not talk about. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about my experience at Flying Lead and why it was one of the best LARPs I've been to up till this point. And I say that as someone who's been LARPing for around 5 years now. You may have seen my last video on this channel, which was my little cinematic about my Flying Lead character, in which I was wearing this dress here and the wig I'm currently wearing. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend go watch that now, because it'll provide a little bit of insight, and it also showcases the iLARP site itself, where all their LARPs take place. Flying Lead is a Wild West 1880s LARP, set in the early 1880s, in the imagined state of New Austin, so it's not tied to any real places, although the intention of the setting, which is Juneau Valley, the village of Goodwill, and the hamlet of Sweetwater, is to give you the feeling of the up-and-coming prospecting towns around that era. So the first thing I want to say is just a couple words on my character. Kitty, or Catherine Burnside, as her full name is a runaway Southern belle who has left her hometown of Atlanta in search of freedom and love in the West. That's essentially the baseline of the character. I think she's a really fun character to play because I've left her very open-ended. She obviously has a couple goals, but ultimately she just kind of wants to have fun in whatever form that takes. That did mean, if you've watched my ball gowning video, you will know a lot of ball gowning. The dress I wore, this is the dress right here, while it may look like a full ball gown, it actually ends a little bit below my knee, which is also featured in the cinematic I made. Because of obviously practicality, I didn't want a full-length dress, but I still wanted it to evoke that Old South feel that I feel really ties into Kitty's backstory. So I used a pattern for an 1860s era ball gown, which I'm aware is about 20 years out of date for this character. However, I thought it would make sense she would use something that wasn't particularly in fashion or in vogue or looked particularly rich, but was still nice because she wants to look nice to run away in. It's been cut short, and it still evokes the era, especially because I wear it with a bustle pad, so it still gives some more of that silhouette of the 1880s rather than the 1860s. Alright, now that that whole preface is out of the way, I would love to take you guys through what my 2 and a bit days there actually involved. What happened at Flying Lead? So the event actually started around 9 at night, so I got there a little bit early, I got there around 5, and I just sort of got into my costume, I put on my wig, said hi to a couple old friends, and then, by the time it was dark and ready for time in, I wandered out and encountered a group of Irish and Scotsmen. Because it's an event in England, a lot of people can't do an American accent, and there were a lot of English, Irish and Scots in the town of Goodwill. So I met them, they were very nice, and then they headed off into town, or at least a couple of them did, so I went with them. I went into town, I went to the bar, obviously, to the saloon, where I met a few people, we had some really nice chats. I met the doctor, Aaron, one of Kitty's many suitors, and I met also a man named Stranglehands, who, if you're watching this, Stranglehands, you are my hero. He's called Stranglehands because his hands are large enough to strangle a man, not because he has strangled a man, but because his hands are large enough to do so, which was demonstrated. I can't remember this, but this note just says, "We shot Stranglehands." So sorry, Stranglehands. The next morning was up bright and early at around 10, I think, was time in. I wandered around for a bit. I didn't have a huge many friends at this event, and I didn't go with anyone. This was one of my first LARP events where I went by myself. So I didn't have a huge amount to do, so I wandered around, said hi in character to a couple of people I knew out of character, and then I decided I might as well go do something. One thing you can do at Flying Lead is prospecting, which is where you get a map and you can go out to find little areas which are marked throughout the large site with green flags. So I decided to go do that, and you can potentially find gold, which can like make your character rich. And I figured Kitty she hasn't found a proper suitor yet other than the doctor, and he's very mysterious, so she might as well go earn some of her own money. So I went to the bank to get my prospecting thing, and when I was there I actually met 4 lovely ladies who were the girl gang, as they are so aptly named. I vaguely knew one of them from Empire, so I decided that I would tag along with them, and we all went prospecting together. Unfortunately we didn't find anything, but it was really nice because we got chatting and there was definitely some character interaction which helped me feel a lot more at home, and I also made a couple friends who I'm still like chat out of character with, which is fantastic. Love you guys. For reference, there are 3 children who come to Flying Lead, at least as far as I'm aware there are 3. There might have been one more. There were 3 or 4, and they are mischievous and delightful, and I would literally kill for them, in and out of character. So we discovered they'd been kidnapped by the bad guys, who were a gang under like Henry something or other. I'm afraid I didn't interact a huge amount with the plot, so I actually can't tell you names. I'm also bad with names. But Henry something's gang had kidnapped the children, so we had to go help them. During that time, I met one of my friends who I knew out of character from Empire. I met him in character, and hi Teddy, or Max if you're watching this. And Maddie, who'd come with us, was very jealous of that. And there was starting to become a love triangle, and I was very, very excited. I love triangles in books, and I've always wanted to not actually be in one, but like be in, get that feeling and like the vibe, and it was ended up being a huge amount of fun and huge, like, amazing roleplay opportunities, and I'm sure it will continue to be in the future. Anyway, we got back to town. I apparently paid the children to annoy Teddy, which was very fun, and then we went bounty hunting. Don't remember that. All I've written here is bounty hunting. I bought some peaches and ate them. Had some munches on some peaches. The wonderful thing about iLarp is there are so many plot points. There is the overarching issue with Henry what's-his-name's gang, but I find there's so many little things you can pick up on because they scatter NPCs and crews throughout, so there's always something to do. There were like other bad guys and everyone has their own agendas, and it makes, because it's all of that within quite a small setting of about 30 players, it makes it so much fun to play. And then it was evening. I went to the pub, I had my fortune read, I did some flirting, we played some dice games. Matilda, or Matty, and I had a really lovely chat outside. We had a really fantastic role-playing opportunity where we talked about how we were quite sweet on one another. Then we intercepted some letters, which were funny, smutty love letters, which we read outside, and got this fantastic photo, which I love so much, and I'll pop up on the screen now. And then there was a surprise attack. I went outside and there was suddenly dynamite thrown, and in straight up one of the most amazing role-playing experiences of my entire life, Teddy leapt over and protected me from the dynamite and made sure Kitty was safe. And oh my god, at that moment, I feel like a lot of time in LARP there is immersion, and I know that I'm not somewhere, I know that I'm both there and not there. In that moment, I was Kitty, and Kitty's life was in danger, and she'd just been saved by Teddy. It was amazing. Right, I've just checked my camera, and having filmed about 10 more minutes of that video, I've lost all the footage. I'm really sorry, but it's just going to be audio and photos from this point onwards. Sorry. Then there were a few other things that happened that evening, but after the attack it's all a bit of a blur. The next day was the big battle day. So the Sunday is the battle day, and I went to the battle. I had so much fun. Kitty wielded her gun. She almost got shot at, which was terrifying. And then the Pinkertons walked past Kitty and one of the mayoral candidates, who it was well known he wasn't particularly liked, and shot him in the middle of the battle, evidently hoping no one would notice. Kitty obviously noticed, and I've got a couple photos of that here, obviously noticed and immediately went to the sheriff. And there was this whole thing, and the Pinkertons were threatening her, and she was like, I don't know if I can trust Teddy anymore. Oh, it was fantastic. And then we finished. There were a few other things that happened, a few more chats and in-character moments, but that is kind of the plot by plot point of how my weekend went. I was involved in my own ball gowning shenanigans, and then at the end, accidentally involved in a murder plot. And it's one thing I really love about ILARP, and it's one thing I loved about Flying Lead, and this character especially in particular proved a really good way for me to engage with other people, especially at a LARP where I was going by myself. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked it, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. I make videos about LARP, writing, and fashion because I can't pick a hobby, and I will have some Halloween videos coming out very shortly. Happy Halloween!